Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Imagine one screen where Sam Elliott's stare, Swayze's rage, and Lee Marvin's war stories collide. Would any director dare call it cut? But there are even grittier legends ahead. Let's see who else out-toughs these icons. Your jaw might drop before this countdown is done. Number 20, Randy Travis. Randy Travis grows up in Marshville, North Carolina, in a house where stability is rare and trouble is easy to find. Before age 17, he's arrested multiple times for breaking and entering, property damage, auto theft, and public intoxication.
You're enjoying the hell out of that, just making me wait on you to undo this, aren't you?
A North Carolina judge stepped in and gives him a choice: jail or discipline. He chooses music, but the road stays rough.
You may think that I'm talking foolish. You've heard that I'm wild.
He gets into bar fights, gets fired from early jobs, and is told by record labels that his raw, traditional voice is unmarketable in the 1980s pop country push. In 2013, his real test arrived. He suffers viral cardiomyopathy. His heart fails. Then a stroke hits, followed by swelling on his brain. Doctors give him a 1 to 2% survival chance. He's put on life support and undergoes brain surgery. When he wakes, he can't walk, talk, or eat without assistance. Rehab lasts years. Progress is slow, brutal, and repetitive, but he keeps going. In 2016, he walked on stage at the CMA Awards and attempted to sing. That moment becomes proof of something bigger than awards: survival through willpower. Number 19, Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw's toughness comes from routine, pressure, and endurance. Raised in Start, Louisiana, by a single mother, he grows up without much money and learns hard work early. He didn't meet his father, Major League Baseball All-Star Tug McGraw, until age 11. Instead of leaning on a famous name, he rises on his own, playing tiny honky-tonks, driving himself between shows and sleeping in his car when he can't afford hotels. Before a record deal, nobody hands him a shortcut.
What keeps the fire going for me is wanting to get better. I mean, I still think that I'm just scratching the surface of what I want to do.
Physically, he trains like an athlete. In his 40s, he commits to 2-a-day workouts while touring, drops 40-plus pounds, and stays consistent for decades. When injuries hit, he doesn't stop. In 2004, he performed an entire tour show with a fractured foot and torn ligaments without canceling a date. For roles like The Kingdom and 1883, he completed tactical weapons training, riding drills, and military conditioning. Co-stars describe him as relentless, prepared, and impossible to outwork. His toughness isn't loud, it's habitual. Pressure taken daily, quietly survived. Number 18, Chris Christopherson.
Lit my first and watched a small kid cussing at a can that he was kicking.
Chris Christopherson grew up the son of a U.S. Army Air Corps officer. The military expects him to follow the same path, and he does. He became a Golden Gloves boxer, earned a Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford in 1958, studied literature, then joined the U.S. Army as a helicopter pilot. By 1965, he reached the rank of captain. After leaving the Army, he ignores pressure to teach at West Point. He chooses Nashville. Instead of success, he gets night shifts sweeping floors at Columbia recording studios for $1.50 an hour. He lives in cheap motels and at one point lands a helicopter in Johnny Cash's yard to hand him demo tapes. Cash listens. Years later, Cash calls him the most dangerous poet in the building. Tough for Christopherson means taking hits from life, not careers. He survives boxing rings, military training, poverty, and reinvention. Even in his 80s, he toured through Lyme disease that went misdiagnosed for years. He keeps going anyway. What happens when toughness comes built like a 6'6" wall? and intimidation feels like breathing. Number 17, Trace Atkins.
You wanna swing along, got it going on like Donkey Kong.
Trace Atkins lives a life that reads like a tally of survival. In 1994, his ex-wife shot him in the chest and both lungs. The bullet passes through his heart and spine. He survives, but chooses not to press charges. Doctors leave the bullet in place, too close to safely remove. He still carries it today. Bar fights shape his early years. He even loses part of his pinky finger in a logging accident and reattaches it at a strange angle, leaving it permanently crooked. On stage and on the road, he rarely slows. He tours for decades, sometimes playing over 100 shows a year, often while injured. In 2014, Atkins entered rehab for alcohol after a relapse during a cruise performance. He walks out months later and goes straight back to work. No gap, no pause, no pity tour. His toughness is practical, physical, and impossible to fake. But what if grit lives even longer than the man, surviving the IRS, taxes, and 150 road years at 90 miles per hour? Number 16, Willie Nelson.
Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good.
Willie Nelson is built to outlast systems. The IRS hit him in 1990 for $32 million. They seize homes, cars, gold records, almost everything. Most careers die there. Willie records the IRS tapes. Who'll buy my memories? And pays the debt himself, closing it by 1993. No bankruptcy escape. He tours harder as pressure grows. At 89, he still plays live dates, sometimes over 80 shows a year. His guitar, Trigger, is older than most country legends. Bought in 1969, held together by tape, wood chips, repairs, and 10,000 plus shows of wear. He survives collapsed lungs, pneumonia, car crashes, heavy smoking, and decades of non-stop touring, yet keeps a schedule that would flatten performers half his age. He runs toward hardship, not away from it. But what happens when the next name on the list literally wrestles horses for a living, breaks bones for sport, and wins a world championship during it? Number 15, Dwight Yoakam. Dwight Yoakam grew up in Pikeville, Kentucky, the son of a gas station owner. He moved to Los Angeles in 1980 because Nashville tells him his hillbilly sound belongs in the past. LA does not welcome country singers either. He starts playing rock clubs on the Sunset Strip. Crowds expect punk or metal, not honky-tonk, but Yoakam refuses to rewrite himself. So he wins the crowd by force of presence. In 1986, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., goes platinum, proving the country still has a pulse. But toughness for Dwight shows up in other ways. He takes acting roles nobody else dares touch. In Panic Room 2002, David Fincher cast him as Raoul, a violent, twitchy criminal. Yoakam insists on doing his own physical scenes, crawling in walls, sprinting through hazards, and repeating takes until Fincher trusts the danger feels real. He builds a reputation for intensity, endurance, and showing up prepared, even when the job feels punishing. He survives the industry by bending nothing for anyone. But what kind of toughness comes from riding animals that weigh 1,800 pounds and buck with the force of a car crash at 35 miles per hour? Number 14, Dub Taylor. Dub Taylor started acting in 1938 when Western sets ran hot, dangerous, and uninsured. He performs in more than 200 films, working around horses, live gunfire blanks, collapsing saloon walls, runaway wagons, and poorly built stunt rigs. OSHA rules do not exist yet. If something breaks, the camera keeps rolling. In 1950, while filming a chase scene, a horse slipped and rolled. Taylor goes down with it. The crew expects broken ribs or worse. He stands, dusts off, and finishes the scene. This happens more than once. Old set cowboys compare injuries like storm stories, and Taylor collects plenty. Unlike modern character actors, he earns his place through repetition, risk, and reliability. Directors know one thing: Taylor might bend, but production schedules do not stop for him. Westerns move fast, and he moves faster. He survives decades in a world built on dehydration, danger, and pure timing. But what separates a tough actor from a real cowboy? Maybe winning a world title in a rodeo before Hollywood even calls. Number 13, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson lived the life before the movie. Born in 1918 in Oklahoma, he grew up cowboy through and through. No acting training, no prepared lines, just horses, sweat, and arena dirt. Johnson becomes a professional rodeo rider and team roper. He won the 1953 World Championship in team roping at Madison Square Garden, beating athletes who compete full-time in the sport. Hollywood takes notice because he already moves, rides, and lives like the characters studios want to fake. Director John Ford spots him in 1939 while Johnson is delivering horses to the set. Ford hires him on the spot, no audition. Stunts, cattle, wagon work, riding falls. Johnson does it all himself. Vin Tanner in The Magnificent Seven, 1960. That knife-throwing, horse control posture, all real muscle memory. His toughness comes from legitimacy. He does not act like a cowboy. He just shows up and does the job. But what happens when the next man rides bucking broncos for cash, survives explosions on set, and casually drops into nuclear-era folklore at the peak of Cold War fears? Number 12, Slim Pickens. Slim Pickens rides broncos long before Hollywood ever finds him. Born Louis Burton Lindley Jr. in 1919, he became a professional rodeo rider at 15. He competes in the rodeo circuit for years, earning money the hardest way possible, 8 seconds at a time on animals built to throw grown men like spare change. In 1946, he won the title of Rodeo Clown of the Year, a job that mixes danger, instinct, and repeated risk inside an arena with animals weighing over 1,500 pounds. Hollywood offers him stunt work because he already knows how to fall, take hits, and get up without slowing a production. In 1964, he films Dr. Strangelove and rides a nuclear bomb like a rodeo bull in the movie's most famous scene. The wild part? He plays it so real because riding explosives and animals require the same mindset: commit completely or fail completely. Fear never drives the decisions. Timing does. But what makes a man tougher? Riding danger or surviving a prison system built to break you like a machine in 1968? Number 11, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash lives toughness in real time, not in roles. In 1965 alone, he got arrested 7 times, mostly for pills and reckless choices. In Starkville, Mississippi, police jailed him for public intoxication at 2 a.m. He writes Starkville City Jail on the floor before release. In 1967, he collapsed from exhaustion and addiction, and so friends fear they'll lose him before 40. However, Cash turns the story sharply. In 1968 and 69, he performed live at Folsom Prison and San Quentin. These are not cleaned-up concerts. These are volatile rooms filled with men serving decades, life sentences, and no patient for fake toughness. When Cash steps on stage wearing black, the inmates erupt because they see a man who lived near the edge, not above it. He does those shows with no security buffer, no distance, no detachment. He stands a few feet from hardened men who know truth from performance. That earns a different kind of credibility. But what happens when toughness looks quieter, slower, and self-destructive, surviving 20,000 near misses, liquor, heartbreak, and lawnmower accidents at 2 a.m.? Number 10, George Jones.
I don't need no rocking chair. Your chair was tall, argumentative.
George Jones carries a toughness that looks like survival by inches. Born in 1931 in rural Texas, he grew up in a house without running water, hearing violence, instability, and chaos before he heard music. He starts singing on street corners for coins at age 9. By adult, alcohol becomes a second engine, powerful, dangerous, unstoppable. In the 1970s, he missed concerts so often, fans nicknamed him No Show Jones. But even that has a gritty legend behind it. In 1982, after his wife hid the car keys to stop him from drinking and driving, he rode a lawnmower 8 miles to a liquor store at 5 a.m. It sounds unbelievable, but police confirm the stop. Jones never denies it. He laughs, then keeps going. He lives through pancreatitis, withdrawals, tour collapse, financial crashes, and decades of self-inflicted disaster. The toughest part? Every time he almost falls out of the story, he crawls back in. But how does a man survive a 35-mile-per-hour motorcycle crash, 200 broken bones in one lifetime, and still spends 50 years doing his own stunts without insurance covering any of it? Number 9, Waylon Jennings. Waylon Jennings learns toughness early. Born in 1937 in Littlefield, Texas, he worked in cotton fields as a kid before finding music. At 19, he plays bass for Buddy Holly, touring highways that feel more dangerous than glamorous. In February 1959, he gave up his seat on a plane to J.P. Richardson, joking, "Hope your old plane crashes," minutes before the aircraft went down, killing Holly, Richie Valens, and Richardson.
Where you gonna leave? You know it's a lie, 'cause that'll be the day when I die.
Jennings carried survivor guilt for years. Later, Nashville tries to control his sound. He refuses. In 1972, he renegotiated his RCA contract and became the first country artist allowed full creative control over his music. That move shifts the industry. He also battles severe cocaine addiction, at one point spending $1,500 a day on the habit, and quits cold turkey in 1984 without rehab.
Take back the weed, take back the cocaine, baby. Take back the pill, take back the whiskey.
Friends call it sheer stubborn survival. But what kind of man swims rivers in full cowboy gear, survives a 2-ton truck rollover, and leaves 13-inch boot prints in Hollywood history? Number 8, Clint Walker.
Whatever it is, he's got to fight it. That's how God made a man.
And God made a woman to need her man.
Clint Walker stands 6 foot 6 inches, with 48-inch chest measurement, and a life that feels built in a foundry. Before Hollywood, he worked as a sheet metal worker, merchant seaman, doorman, and security guard in Las Vegas. In 1971, while skiing at Mammoth Mountain, he fell onto a ski pole. The tip pierced his heart. Doctors call it a medical miracle when he survived open heart surgery hours later. Then in 1974, his truck flipped on a mountain road. The vehicle rolls downhill, lands upside down, and crushes the roof. Walker crawls out with stitches, bruises, and refusal to slow down. No stunt double takes those hits for him. On Cheyenne, 1955 to 1962, he does his own riding, fighting, and falls. Horses throw him, terrain scrapes him, schedules run him harder than safety suggestions. However, the next story beats survival with intent. Number 7, Audrey Murphy. Audrey Murphy brings a level of toughness no screenwriter dares invent. Born in 1925 in rural Texas, he grew up in grinding poverty, hunting by age 8 to keep siblings fed. At 17, he lied about his age to enlist in World War II. What followed was not service, but legend. he became the most decorated American combat soldier of the war, earning 33 military honors, including the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Stars, Bronze Stars with Valor, and Purple Hearts. In 1945, alone on a burning tank destroyer, he held off an entire German company for nearly an hour, directing artillery strikes while wounded, outnumbered, and exposed. After the war, PTSD weighed heavy, but quitting never entered the frame. Hollywood put a camera on him, and he played himself in To Hell and Back, 1955, performing his own stunts and battle choreography with unnerving realism. Murphy wasn't acting tough, he was remembering it. But what happens when real-world toughness has a kill count, a Purple Heart, and 21 confirmed combat missions before Hollywood even begins? Number 6. Tom Mix. Tom Mix becomes the first global cowboy superstar before microphones or stunt unions exist. He made over 300 films between 1909 and 1935, doing almost every dangerous moment himself. He rides horses off cliffs, jumps moving trains, rolls wagons, and takes real falls for the camera. Safety harnesses, landing pads, and CGI are decades away. A mistake means broken bones or worse. Before Hollywood, Mix worked as a real cavalry soldier. In 1898, he joined the U.S. He later served in the Rough Riders era, riding, roping, and handling firearms long before movie sets asked for it. His skill becomes the blueprint for screen cowboys. Studios insure him for huge sums in the 1920s because replacing him becomes impossible. In 1940, he died in Arizona after crashing his Cord 812 Phaeton into a dry wash at 80 miles per hour. He had survived cavalry battles, rattlesnakes, stampedes, and decades of stunts, but a desert road ended his ride. So how does a man go from war hero to Hollywood legend, earning a Purple Heart after getting shot in 1944 at age 20? Number 5. Lee Marvin.
Why don't you get yourself a fresh steak on me?
Lee Marvin lives toughness before cameras ever roll. In 1942, at 18, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps. He landed in Saipan in 1944 with the 4th Marine Division, 24th Regiment. On June 18th, enemy fire hit him in the sciatic nerve. The pain is permanent. The damage ends his military service, but earns him a Purple Heart. He spent 13 months in hospitals learning to walk without collapsing. When he reaches Hollywood, directors assume the menace in his eyes is acting. It is a memory. He carries the limp, the nerve damage, and the war weight into every role. On set, he never complains. He drinks hard, works harder, and expects no special handling. Co-stars say he dislikes rehearsal talk, prefers action, and treats discomfort like background noise. His toughness is quiet, real, and non-negotiable. He fights wars young, then walks into film sets like they are smaller battlefields with better lighting. But what shapes a man who says yes to bar fights on film and in life, breaks bones, keeps filming, and still smiles through the pain while becoming an 80s cultural icon? Number 4. Patrick Swayze.
Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Patrick Swayze grows up training hard because softness is never allowed. His mother, Patsy Swayze, runs a strict Houston dance studio where discipline beats comfort every day. By his teens, he trained dance, football, martial arts, and gymnastics at once. A football injury shatters his knee, ending one path. So he rebuilds the same body for another. When Roadhouse films in 1988, he asks to do his own stunts. He takes hits, falls, and physical contact that stunt teams normally block or replace. Doctors later confirm long-term damage from old injuries stacking on new ones. In Next of Kin, 1989, he fractures ribs during filming, keeps working, and hides the injury to avoid production delays. He rides horses in poor weather, fights through exhaustion, and shows up even when pain argues louder than reason. Co-workers describe him as relentless but calm, fierce but focused. His toughness is physical, practiced, and earned through repetition, not reaction. So, what kind of legend stands 6'4", becomes the face of Western toughness, and delivers one of cinema's most quoted voices without raising it above conversational tone in 1969's most influential cowboy revival? Number 3, Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott grew up in Sacramento, California, born in 1944. He gets his deep baritone from genetics.
A wiser fellow than myself once said, sometimes you eat the bar and sometimes...
But his toughness comes from discipline. He plays sports in high school and works construction before acting pays anything. Money is thin, roles are thinner, so he builds houses by day and auditions by night. No safety net, no famous name to open doors. He moves to Hollywood in the late 1960s and sleeps on friends' couches while trying to land Western roles. Early directors want him clean-shaven. He keeps the mustache, no negotiation. That choice alone becomes career risk. Many casting calls pass on him because he looks too old, too Western, too real. However, he endures the rejection years without reinventing himself. On set, stuntmen respect him because he treats the work like physical labor, not glamour. Long days in heat, heavy wardrobe, writing without complaint. If a scene needs a man who looks like life hit him a few times, he delivers without acting like a man who needs praise. Quiet grit beats loud behavior every time. So what kind of man turns down $250,000 in 1968 money because the role insults real cowboys? Number 2, John Wayne. John Wayne was born in 1907 in Iowa, grew up in California, and worked full-time long before fame. He loads trucks, moves furniture, and plays college football for USC until a body surfing injury ends his scholarship. The accident kills his sports future, so he takes labor jobs at Fox Studios, hauling props, moving equipment, building sets, and sweeping sound stages. By 1930, he landed the big trail, filming in brutal outdoor conditions. The production uses real rivers, real mountains, real cold, and 70mm cameras so massive they need wagons to move. No trailers, no climate control. If the weather breaks, actors take the weather. He learns early that the job demands endurance, and complaining removes a man from the lineup fast. In 1964, he underwent lung cancer surgery that removed an entire lung and 2 ribs.
They found a spot on the x-rays. It was lung cancer.
He returns to work, keeps speaking with his full chest, and never softens his voice. Pain slows him. It never steers him. His toughness is industrial, no frills, built to outlast comfort. So who lives tougher than the Duke? A man who serves a hard time behind bars at 20 and walked out with songs instead of apologies. Number 1, Merle Haggard.
Sing me back home before I die.
Merle Haggard grows up tough. Born in 1937, raised in a train boxcar converted into a home during the Great Depression. His early life was instability, loss, and trouble. After his father died in 1946, Haggard spirals into rebellion. Petty crimes lead to bigger ones. By 1957, at 20, he landed in San Quentin State Prison for burglary, sentenced to multiple years. Prison violence is real, fast, and unfiltered. Haggard learned survival rules early. No bravado, no fake edges, eyes open, mouth controlled, respect earned daily. In 1958, he watched Johnny Carson perform inside San Quentin. That moment changes trajectory. He studies the craft, writes relentlessly, and leaves prison in 1960 with purpose instead of correction. The comeback is steep. Nashville doubts him. Radio fears him. But his life writes songs no committee can manufacture. He becomes the voice of people who feel judged, ignored, counted out. Toughness for Haggard means endurance, consequences, reinvention, and authenticity nobody can debate. But if real toughness means surviving 460-plus aviation combat missions, being shot down twice and still returning to the cockpit, what name lives above even outlaw kings in military history? 3 legends down, yet the wildest outlaws are still ahead. Hit the next video before it vanishes, because the toughest tales in country music history are only getting started. Secrets never stay buried.